Hi, my name is Andy Mallet, and this is Glimmer DSL for SWT tutorial number 10. So last time I went through a basic example of how to use a canvas. Today I'm going to go through something different. It's going to be a very advanced widget in SWT called styled text. So the example today is hello styled text. So let's launch it to get through what it looks like. So basically this widget that you see right now that contains a lot of text is just like the regular text widget. So I can type if I want, but it actually lets you style the text that's being typed. Not just have a single, font and single foreground color, but actually vary it per different sections of the document. So you can think of this widget as a word processor, kind of like Microsoft Word. So as you can see, the first paragraph has blue text. The second paragraph has yellow highlighted background text with a green foreground. The third paragraph has red text. The fourth paragraph has text with the strikeout style, but it also has a blue background and a sort of, purplish kind of foreground color. One more thing is at the bottom, you can see that we see the caret offset, the selection count, the selection start, selection end, and top pixel analytics of this text widget. Meaning if I were to click here, you can see how it's changing the caret offset. And then if I were to select some text, for example, the selection count now is 35 characters. And this is where the selection start is, the index of the character in the text where the selection begins. Selection end is the end of it, and then the top pixel is the top pixel in the text widget when I scroll. So this changes while I'm scrolling. So this is a pretty advanced widget in SWT. However, it's extremely useful for building all sorts of applications. One of them is something I already mentioned, which is word processors. But also you can build IDEs with this. Kind of like the Eclipse IDE, or kind of like this sample, actually, the meta sample. The Glimmer meta sample is actually using styled text over here. However, it's using an even more advanced version of styled text called code text, which automatically syntax highlights code. And we'll get through this in the next tutorial, but today let's go through styled text. So suppose I have a bit of a verbiage. It's this paragraph, and suppose I repeat it 4 times, and that becomes the text of the presenter, which is the model behind the view that contains the text. What we could do next is basically inside a shell, inside a composite, I can build a style text widget, and it gets a whole bunch of properties. This is a very advanced widget, so it has a lot more properties than simply just text, for example, like what you would see in a label or a text widget. So we have text, but also we have margins, for example, left, top, right, bottom. So this is the margin, for example, from here to here. So that's the left margin. We have a caret offset, as you already saw. It's data bound to the caret offset attribute on the presenter. There's the selection count. There's the selection itself, which contains the start and end of the selection, and then there's the top pixel. So these attributes are basically the attributes that we saw at the bottom of the screen when I launched the sample. So if I were to scroll down a bit, there's a composite at the bottom that basically has text fields that are data bound to those exact same attributes. And here in onRead, this is a kind of a converter that massages the data a bit and formats it so that we don't get too many decimals. But basically, this is what shows us this stuff at the bottom. So this is a text widget. So if I click here, there you go. It's populating all those text widgets with stuff. So if I were to get back to the styled text widget, you'll see that the meat of the logic in it is not in the properties. It's basically in this listener. So it's got this listener called online get style, which will get triggered whenever the content changes and it needs to be styled. And basically, it'll grab the line offset of the line that needs to be styled, and then we can write logic that would then style that line. So for example, I can say, okay, I can use the presenter and use this method on the presenter that basically picks the index for a line offset. And I'm saying something like if it's within 52 lines and it's less than 13, then style it a certain way. If it's less than 26, style it a different way. If it's less than 39, style it a third way, etc. So I mean, these are the 4 different styles that we see here. This is the first styling, this is the second styling, the third, and the fourth. And basically, in order to style, you need to compose, basically build this object called style range, which is an SWT object, and you pass it the line offset, the line size, the color for the foreground, the color for the background, which could be nil if you don't want to color the background, just keep it white, and the font style of italic. So here, for example, we do pass a background of yellow. Over here, we actually do more. We actually set the underline property as well to true. So this text is underlined, and then this text has a strikeout on it. So if I were to launch this again, you can see the third style or third paragraph is underlined, and the fourth one has a strikeout. So in order to figure this stuff out, like how did I even know that there's such a listener or that there's a style range class? You need to just look at the SWT documentation. So this is the style range class as per the SWT documentation. This is kind of like the API we're working with, the start, the length, the foreground, the background, and the font style. But then also you can set extra attributes. So if I were to scroll up a bit, there's a font style, length, and start, but then there's extra attributes inherited from the superclass text style, which is the superclass of style range. And if I click on this superclass, there's more we could do, like strikeout, like border style, etc. And you can experiment with these different properties and see what they produce. One more thing to note is that if I were to click back, we're within the custom org Eclipse SWT custom package, and this is the package that contains the style text widget. And if in order to know what listeners I have available, the one that we were working with was the add line style listener, because if I were to click on this listener and look at its events, line get style event, and this is exactly the event we used here. In Glimmer, you simply prepend it with on and you use it, and it works. You don't have to build a listener class. You don't have to do any of the complicated object composition work that you have to do in the original SWT. All you have to do is just declare on and then the event name of that listener, which is line get style, and Glimmer will handle the rest for you. And then you can expect that you will receive a line style event. This is what we received here, and that gives us the line offset, the line text if you want to look at it, but I needed it only to get the size of the text in order to pass that to the style range because it needs it over here. So you can play around with this, experiment with it, and get to learn the API better by running the sample yourself. So next time we're going to go through a more advanced example of using style text in order to show syntax highlighted code. So that concludes today's tutorial. In order to learn more about Glimmer DSL for SWT, check out the GitHub project.